Virtuous friendship. Forerunners to the middle way. Initial stage of practice 1. Skillful words of others and virtuous friendship. 1. Introduction. As mentioned in the previous chapter, right view is a crucial component of the path. It is the beginning point of practice and the first stage of Buddhist spiritual training. Right view needs to be gradually developed, purified and freed from bias until it is transformed into direct realization. The establishment of right view is thus of vital importance. In the Tipitaka, the cultivation of right view is described as follows. Monks, there are two factors conducive to the arising of right view. The teachings of others, Parato-gosa, and wise reflection, Yoniso Manasikara. Two factors conducive to the arising of right view. 1. Parato-gosa, the proclamations of others, external influence or inducement, example, other people's teachings, advice, explanations and transmissions, advertisements, information, news, written material and schooling. Here it refers specifically to wholesome teachings, in particular to the transmission of Dhamma teachings, and to the knowledge and counsel received from virtuous friends, Kalyanamitta. This is an external social factor. It can be described as the way of faith, sada, to yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, analytical reflection, reasoned or systematic attention, to know how to reflect on things in an objective way, to apply reasoned thought, to inquire into the origin of things, to trace the entire trajectory of phenomena, and to analyze an object or a problem in order to see it according to truth and according to its interrelated causes and conditions, without allowing personal craving or attachment to interfere. This is an internal spiritual factor. It can be described as the way of wisdom, panya. The following passage emphasizes the importance of these two factors in spiritual training. For a monk who is still in training, I do not see any other external factor that is so helpful as good friendship. For a monk who is still in training, I do not see any other internal factor that is so helpful as wise reflection. These two factors are mutually supportive. Ordinary people whose wisdom is not yet proficient rely on the teachings and guidance of others, and if these teachings are presented skillfully, they can often progress quickly. Nonetheless, they must also train in an ability to think correctly for themselves if they are to reach the final goal. Those people who are proficient in wisdom are able to use wise reflection, but they may need to rely on the teachings of others for guidance at the beginning stages of practice and as a support to accelerate their spiritual training. The establishment of right view by way of the first factor, Parato-gosa, the teachings of others, begins with and relies primarily on faith. When one applies this factor to a system of training, one must determine how to best receive advice and encouragement. That is, one requires a teacher who has superior attributes and abilities and who uses effective means of teaching. For this reason, the definition of Parato-gosa in training highlights The principle of virtuous friendship, Kalyanamitta. The second factor, Yoniso Manasikara, is a principle of wisdom, and so in training one needs to determine how best to support such wise reflection. When combining these two factors, virtuous friendship is considered an external factor, and wise reflection an internal factor. Finally, if one associates with bad friends and thus receives false teachings, and one applies unwise, incorrect reflection, ayoniso manasikara, the result is the opposite. One develops wrong view, michaditi. 2. Way of faith and confidence. The proclamations of others, parato gosa, giving rise to right view, are those teachings which are virtuous and correct, reasonable and useful, and which explain the truth, especially those teachings stemming from a sense of love and well-wishing. Virtuous teachings spring from a virtuous source, from a good, virtuous, and wise person, who is referred to as a righteous man, saparisa, or a learned person, pandita. If such a righteous or learned person performs the duty of teachings others and engendering right view, he or she is referred to as a beautiful or virtuous friend, Kalyanamitta. If one is in search of right view, one does not need to wait until a righteous or virtuous person seeks one out. On the contrary, one should strive to find such a person, to consult with, listen to, request teachings from, associate with, and study with the wise. This is called association with the righteous or virtuous. Regardless of who initiates the contact, once there is mutual influence and acknowledgement, the person is said to have a virtuous friend and to participate in a virtuous friendship, Kalyanamitta. The definition of a virtuous friend is not restricted to the common meaning of a good friend, but it refers to a person who is well equipped to teach, advise, explain, encourage, and guide, and to act as a role model in the correct path of spiritual training. The Visuddhimagga offers examples, including the Buddha, the Arahant disciples, teachers, mentors, and wise, learned individuals who are capable of teaching and providing consultation, even those people who are younger than oneself. In the formal development of wisdom, the presence of a virtuous friend is classified as part of the stage of faith, sada. In the wider system of spiritual training, good companionship encompasses a whole range of factors, including the presence of teachers, mentors, and parents, the attributes and skills of one's teachers, the principles, methods, techniques, and means of teaching, books and other forms of media, role models, for example, a great being, Mahapurisa, or someone who is accomplished in the Dhamma, and those wholesome and beneficial social and environmental factors conducive to wisdom development. 3. Importance of good companionship. Monks. Just as the dawn's light is the precursor to the rising of the sun, so too, for a monk, good friendship is the forerunner and precursor for the arising of the Noble Eightfold Path. When a monk has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate this Noble Eightfold Path. This is the entire holy life, Ananda, that is, good friendship, good companionship. For when a monk has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. By relying on me as a good friend, beings subject to birth are freed from birth, beings subject to aging are freed from aging, beings subject to death are freed from death, beings subject to sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are freed from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. Monks, just as the dawn's silver and golden light is the precursor to the rising of the sun, so too, for a monk, good friendship is the forerunner and precursor for the arising of the 7 factors of enlightenment. When a monk has a good friend, it is to be expected that he will develop and cultivate the 7 factors of enlightenment. No other thing do I see, O monks, which is so responsible for causing unarisen wholesome states to arise, and arisen unwholesome states to wane, as good companionship. In one who has good friends, wholesome states not yet arisen will arise, and unwholesome states that have arisen will wane. No other thing do I see, O monks, which is so conducive to great blessings, which is so conducive to the stability, the non-decline, the non-disappearance of the true Dhamma as good companionship. As to external factors, I do not see any other factor that is so conducive to great blessings as good companionship. For a monk who is in training, who has not yet reached the fruit of arahantship, and who aspires towards the unsurpassed security from bondage, I do not see any other external factor that is so beneficial as good companionship. When a monk has a good friend, he will eliminate the unwholesome and cultivate the wholesome. When a monk has a good friend, it can be expected that 1. He will be virtuous, restrained, and careful in respect to the patimokkha, perfect in conduct and resort. 2. He will have the opportunity to listen and to engage in talk according to his wishes on various subjects that refine his character and purify the mind. That is to say, talk on fewness of wishes, on the application of energy, on virtue, concentration, wisdom, liberation, and on the knowledge and vision of liberation. 3. He will be persistent and energetic in abandoning the unwholesome and in perfecting the wholesome. He will be diligent, steadfast, and strong, not neglecting the duty in regard to wholesome qualities. 4. He will be equipped with wisdom, possessed of noble wisdom. He will be equipped with wisdom, possessed of noble wisdom, which discerns the rise and fall of phenomena, gains penetrative insight into defilements, and leads to the complete end of suffering. These teachings cited above emphasize the importance of good companionship for monks, because it was given by the Buddha to bhikkhus as the audience. There are, however, many general teachings and sayings by the Buddha, especially those given to householders, highlighting the importance of association with virtuous people. For example, good companionship is one factor conducive to realizing immediate everyday benefits. Dita dhammi kata. Associating with evil people is a path to ruin. Apayamukha. Contact with and proper conduct towards friends is one aspect of the teaching on the 6 directions, the criteria for choosing friends according to the attributes of true and false friends. Association with honest people is one of the 4 vehicles, chakra, leading to prosperity, one of the 4 virtues conducive to growth, buddhi, dhamma, and one of the 4 factors of stream entry, sotapatiyanga. And good friendship is one of the 10 virtues making for self-reliance, atta karana dhamma. The Jataka tales, which apply to people of all walks of life, especially to lay people, contain numerous stories and sayings pertaining to association and fellowship with others. Furthermore, there are teachings on this subject scattered throughout the Suttanta Pitaka, for example, not to associate with fools, but to associate with the wise, and to honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the supreme blessing. The sort of person you seek out, that is the sort of person you yourself become. Even if you do no evil, but associate with one who does, you are suspect of evil, and your bad reputation grows. One who associates with bad companions is soon corrupted. When one wraps rotting fish in kusa grass, the grass takes on a foul odour. So it is when one associates with fools. When one wraps agarwood incense in the leaf of a tree, the leaf becomes fragrant. So it is when one associates with the wise. The wise teach those things which should be promoted. They do not encourage stupidity. One should view a wise person who points out faults and speaks reprovingly, like one who reveals a treasure. Let one associate with such a wise person. By doing so, one will improve, not decline. Let him advise, instruct, and dissuade one from evil. Truly cherished is such a person by the good, while dismissed is he by the bad. The wise live together happily, like a group of family members. Walking together 7 steps, one is considered a friend. Walking together 12 steps, one is considered a comrade. Walking together for a month or a fortnight, one is considered a relative. Longer than that, it is as if the person is oneself. It is fortunate to have many relatives and companions, like a large grove of trees in the middle of the forest. A tree growing in isolation, no matter how large it grows, can be felled by the wind. If you find a companion who is governed by wisdom, you should travel with him contented and mindful. If you do not find a companion governed by wisdom, you should travel alone and refrain from evil. Let one associate with a friend who is learned, great in goodness, intelligent and discerning, and a champion of the Dhamma. When one has recognized the aspired to goal and has eliminated doubt, travel alone like a rhinoceros's horn. Timely listening to the Dhamma, timely discussion of the Dhamma, this is the supreme blessing. Just as one who has mounted a flimsy raft would sink upon the mighty ocean, so too a virtuous person sinks by consorting with a lazy person. Thus one should avoid such a person. One remiss, devoid of energy, keep company with the wise, those who are calm, noble, resolute, and attentive, their energy constantly roused. From these quotes, one is able to see that the teachings on association with others given by the Buddha to monks aim primarily at the highest goal or ultimate reality, Paramatta, and clearly focus on establishing transcendent right view. The teachings given to general people or to lay people, on the other hand, emphasize basic everyday benefits, Dita Dhammi Kata, combined with profound spiritual benefits, Samparayikata. These latter teachings focus on mutual help and assistance, and on generating mundane right view, that is, a belief in the law of karma, to recognize one's responsibility in regard to good and bad actions. For the most part, they do not emphasize transcendent right view, of seeing phenomena as they truly exist. These higher transcendent principles were implicit in the mundane teachings, however, and the Buddha would introduce them as befitting the circumstances. people are at different levels of spiritual maturity. The Buddha would prepare people by gradually laying a foundation for them.